There's a lot of hypocrisy going on, I gotta say, from being somebody who's a little bit unique.
What's ridiculous to me about the whole situation is it's not being progressive. You're hurting the community.
Right. What he's saying, like, oh, it's bad that we're still doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, so he doesn't necessarily want that. But as little people actors, it's like, well, we kind of want to work. We kind of want that part, and if that's what's available, then that's what we'd like to do.
Fans are reeling over rumors that Peter Dinklage has allegedly addressed Rachel Zegler's startling claim that he helped ignite the so-called Snow White disaster. Multiple watchers say the actress privately accused Dinklage of tipping Disney into a panic with his public commentary on dwarfs and representation, leading to frantic rewrites and the turbulent production that became headline news.
I was a little taken back by the they're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White,
yeah.
Seven Dwarfs.
Sure.
So take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Now, the buzz is that Dinklage has reacted, and watchers insist his response isn't what anyone expected. Could one blunt interview or offhand remark have overshadowed an entire film's creative process? The possibility of a quiet feud between two high-profile stars has stunned onlookers, turning the spotlight on how easily reimagining a classic can spiral once powerful voices speak out.
If you tell the story of Snow White, it's most f***ed up, cool, progressive spin on it, let's do it.
Yeah.
All in.
Rachel Zegler, initially celebrated for her modern take on Snow White, found herself mired in controversy as the remake stumbled through test screenings and behind-the-scenes turmoil. Insiders claim she believed Dinklage's outspoken stance on the dwarfs question triggered Disney's meltdown, an accusation that watchers say he may have now addressed, either dismissing it outright or reframing his earlier critique. The notion that two big names could be quietly blaming each other for the fiasco has watchers riveted, especially when both seemed aligned on championing more thoughtful storytelling.
No, Prince or a different kind of Prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yep. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you?
Oh my God.
Are you Disney?
But rumor has it that Zegler's frustration boiled over when script changes and corporate panic overshadowed her performance, leaving watchers to wonder, did a single statement from Dinklage accidentally uproot an entire production? Everything began with Disney's attempt to modernize Snow White while honoring the 1937 original. Rachel Zegler was cast as the princess, stirring excitement and skepticism in equal measure. Many watchers worried how far Disney would go. Would they ditch the dwarfs, transform the prince, or impose heavy-handed social messages? Then Peter Dinklage, renowned for challenging Hollywood cliches, blasted the notion of fake progress and rehashing dwarfs, effectively calling Disney out for double standards.
Have I done nothing to advance the cause? From my soapbox, I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know what studio that is, but they were so proud of that, and all love and respect to the actress and to the people who thought they were doing the right thing. But I'm just like, what are you doing?
Fans split. Some hailed him for pushing representation, others accused him of meddling in a beloved story. From that point, watchers say, Disney's meltdown watchers saw each new rumor as proof that the studio scrambled to appease Dinklage's concerns while preserving the fairy tale magic. By the time watchers heard that Zegler allegedly resented his remarks, the meltdown overshadowed all nuance in the debate. Zegler's meltdown watchers remember how she courted controversy by calling the original love story weird, and watchers suspected her opinions were part of a broader push to modernize. But then Dinklage's take overshadowed everything. Watchers say, pivoting the discussion to dwarfs and whether Disney truly understood inclusive storytelling.
I mean, my biggest thing is he wants to be progressive, and it's all about progression, and I support that completely. But the issue is him being progressive is eliminating 7 potential dream jobs from the dwarf acting community.
The Meltdown watchers believe that once the dwarfs became the center of controversy, the film's script endured abrupt rewrites. Scenes that watchers say originally gave the dwarfs a comedic yet respectful presence were rumored to be slashed or replaced with magical illusions. Allegedly, these frantic changes eroded the entire film, leading watchers to blame Dinklage for unintentionally hijacking the production. If watchers are correct, Zegler concluded he'd singled out dwarfs, sparking a meltdown that overshadowed all other creative decisions.
He's saying he wants to move forward and do good for the community. When these are dream jobs. I got hired by WWE. WWE was my dream job since I was 4 years old. Since I was 4 years old, all I wanted to be was a WWE superstar.
Yet watchers note that Dinklage rarely calls out specific co-stars, so if indeed he's reacted to Zegler's accusation, watchers guess he's more likely to reiterate his stance, that studios shouldn't pat themselves on the back for one progressive step, while retaining questionable tropes. He might claim Disney's meltdown was its own doing, watchers say, pointing out that a well-managed production wouldn't spin out over a single interview. And watchers recall that Dinklage never name-checked Zegler. He aimed at the entire concept of dwarfs in a reimagined Snow White. Why would Zegler blame him personally, watchers wonder, unless she believed his critique forced the studio to tear up the script? That question is precisely why watchers find the rumored tension so riveting.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
Allegedly, watchers believe Zegler's meltdown peaked when test screenings bombed, and watchers suspect she found the dwarf's subplot trivial or incoherent. If so, watchers say it fits that she might resent Dinklage for shining a spotlight on a tricky aspect of the film, prompting Disney to meddle further. Freed of corporate PR, watchers note, Dinklage might calmly reassert that he's not responsible for the meltdown. He merely pointed out that rehashing dwarfs for comedic relief conflicts with claims of progressive storytelling. If watchers are correct, his reaction is a shrug that says, take your meltdown up with Disney, not me.
King Dwarf thing, I said, and I mean that. Who put this guy in charge, and why is he the single voice, like, for a whole community?
Throughout the meltdown, watchers also remember how promotional duties for Zegler vanished, fueling rumors the studio tried to muzzle her after she criticized the original Prince, and overshadowed promotional angles. Observers recall how co-star tensions and fiascos overshadowed the dwarf's question at times, but the meltdown watchers insist that Dinklage's remarks triggered the first major pivot. Watchers guess that if the meltdown watchers are accurate, the film's final cut might appear jarringly inconsistent, with dwarfs minimized or replaced in a half-hearted nod to Dinklage's concerns, one that watchers say may have doomed the entire structure. Now, watchers wonder what Dinklage might say or do if the meltdown overshadowed the story he wanted to see too. A thoughtful re-examination of dwarfs, not an awkward, half-baked compromise. Allegedly, watchers claim Zegler singled out Dinklage in private conversations, calling his critique a turning point that cost the film any chance at a coherent approach. She apparently told friends she admired Dinklage's activism, but found it unfair that he cast a spotlight on dwarfs so late in the production process, forcing last-minute revisions.
For a whole community of people, I can argue I was on TV for 10 years. I was in film, not at the scale he was, but why because he throws the red flag is everything stopped?
If Zegler is truly fixated on Dinklage's role, it might reveal how chaotic the production became once unstoppable public debate overshadowed quiet, careful planning. Peter Dinklage might regret the meltdown, but not the remarks themselves. He's known for championing representation with nuance, so if watchers suspect he's reacted to Zegler's blame, they guess it's with a measured perspective, that no single commentary can topple a film unless the foundation was shaky to begin with.
Disney, I know 6 dwarf actors with myself that would love these roles. I'll play Sleepy or Grumpy or whoever.
Possibly watchers see him empathizing with the meltdown, but refusing to let the fiasco overshadow the principle he was defending. Fans remain torn. Some watchers champion Zegler, viewing her as an actress forced to adapt to abrupt script changes brought on by Dinklage's outcry. Others side with Dinklage, insisting he did nothing but voice a legitimate critique. The meltdown watchers see it as a perfect example of Hollywood's push and pull between progress and tradition. The meltdown overshadowed nuanced discussions about dwarfs' portrayal in favor of rumor-driven blame. Meanwhile, watchers see Disney caught between both sides, failing to unify them into a coherent production.
Did the dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said, why are we doing that? We've hired a Latina actress to be Snow White. That's progressive. But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards. And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, okay, we're going to add magical creatures.
That's the real tragedy. A classic property overshadowed by messy behind-the-scenes wrangling. Ultimately, watchers remain fixated on any sign of a direct clash between Dinklage and Zegler. but watchers say no official statements confirm Zegler publicly pinned everything on him. A swirl of industry gossip points to her venting frustration in private. Meanwhile, watchers believe Dinklage's rumored reaction is less about fanning drama and more about reaffirming why he raised concerns initially. He wanted to question how dwarfs are portrayed, not bring down an entire film. The Meltdown watchers recall how swiftly rumors overshadowed rational discussion, culminating in watchers concluding that the Meltdown overshadowed the film's chance to stand on its own. For watchers who still want a faithful retelling of Snow White or a thoughtful modern update, The Meltdown is a letdown. The Meltdown watchers predict the fiasco might hamper future attempts at reimagining other classics, with watchers now leery about any progressive vow that might lead to Meltdown mania. Whether Zegler can break free from the Meltdown's shadow remains to be seen.
There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings.
The film was reworked so drastically that watchers say no consistent tone survived. The Meltdown watchers thus conclude that no matter how Dinklage reacts, watchers can expect the Meltdown overshadowed everything, from initial casting hype to final marketing. What's your take? Do you think Rachel Zegler's rumored frustration with Peter Dinklage makes sense, or is she blaming him for a meltdown that was bound to happen? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's biggest controversies. Plus, check out the next video on your screen to explore even more twists in this ongoing saga.